There was a time when Andrew Mountbatten-Windsor was considered the golden boy of the British monarchy. He was a war hero, the Queen's absolute favourite, and the man chosen to represent the nation on the global stage. But behind the polished medals and the diplomatic smiles, a very different story was being written, one of greed, unchecked power, and a lifestyle so reckless it has finally caught up with him. We aren't just talking about a few embarrassing headlines here. We are talking about allegations of industrial-scale indulgence, secret government files that have been sealed until the year 2065, and a sense of entitlement that makes the rest of the family look modest by comparison. For decades, the palace machinery worked overtime to protect him. They covered up the scandals, silenced the rumors, and paid the bills. But now the protection is gone. From claims involving 40 women in 4 days to the bizarre demands he placed on his terrified staff, the truth is leaking out, and it is ugly. The king has finally made his move, stripping his brother of his security and demanding he vacate his 30-room mansion. But as the walls close in on the former duke, one question remains. How did a man with everything manage to lose it all? And what exactly is hiding in those government archives that they are so desperate to keep from you? To understand the scale of this downfall, we have to go back to 2001. This was the year Andrew was appointed as the United Kingdom's special representative for international trade and investment. On paper, it was a prestigious role designed to promote British business abroad. In reality, according to royal historian Andrew Lowney, the former royal treated it as a personal passport to excess. The most shocking allegation from this period comes from a taxpayer-funded trip to Thailand. This was supposed to be a solemn diplomatic mission to honor the Thai king. Protocol dictated that the British delegation stay at the embassy. It was secure, official, and crucially free for the taxpayer. But Andrew allegedly refused. According to reports, he demanded to stay in a lavish suite at a 5-star luxury hotel, far away from the prying eyes of diplomats. And this is where the story takes a dark turn. Lowney claims that during a short 4-day stay, Andrew had a staggering 40 women brought to his private quarters. Sources, including a Reuters correspondent and members of the Thai royal circle who were present at the time, have described the scene not as a diplomatic visit, but as a chaotic binge of self-indulgence. While his staff were frantically trying to manage the schedule and smooth over diplomatic cracks, Andrew was reportedly focused entirely on his own gratification. Lowney describes it as indulgence on a royal scale. What makes this even more infuriating for the public is that this wasn't a private holiday funded by his own wealth. This was an official state visit paid for by the people he was supposed to be serving. It was the first major sign that Andrew viewed his position not as a duty but as a perk, a mindset that would define the next decade of his life. The Thailand incident was not a one-off mistake, it was merely the template for the next 10 years. His nickname, Air Miles Andy, became infamous because the former royal treated the global trade envoy role like a personal air taxi service, crisscrossing the globe on taxpayer-funded luxury. Over the course of his decade in the role, his flights, accommodations and expenses reportedly cost the public an eye-watering £4 million. But it wasn't just the sheer cost that was scandalous, it was the open secret of what he was doing on those trips. Take the 2010 trip to Hong Kong. The official court circular lists a tight, high-profile schedule of meetings with bankers and political figures. But behind the scenes, away from the cameras, the private arrangements allegedly descended into the familiar pattern of excess. Former staffers and security details interviewed for books and documentaries described a steady flow of paid company being brought directly to Andrew's top-floor hotel suite. While technically some aspects of this might be legal in the region, bringing in organized hired company is another matter entirely, making the claims explosive given his official state role. What makes this chapter truly corrosive is the culture of fear it exposed. Aides and diplomats assigned to Andrew were allegedly terrified to intervene. He was known for his explosive temper, his outlandish demands, and his absolute refusal to hear the word no. He wasn't just indulging his own whims, he was allegedly forcing others to participate in the cover-up, blurring every line between public service and self-interest. It created a bubble of total impunity. Even his brother, the current king, reportedly saw the writing on the wall decades ago, warning the palace that Andrew would likely use the trade role for nothing more than personal pleasure. History has proven that warning to be tragically accurate. If the stories of extravagant foreign trips expose Andrew's professional corruption, the accounts from his former staff reveal the astonishing depths of his personal delusion. To truly grasp the mindset of a man who could allegedly spend millions of public money on private excess, you have to look at the bizarre rules that governed his life inside his royal residences. And this is where the story pivots from mere scandal to genuine oddity: the teddy bears. This is perhaps the most surreal detail confirmed by multiple former palace employees, including a maid named Charlotte Briggs and former Royal Protection Officer Paul Page. Andrew had an extensive collection of plush toys, estimates range from 40 to 72, that had to be arranged on his bed every morning with military-grade precision. Maids were reportedly given a laminated instruction sheet showing exactly where each bear, lion, and tiger needed to be placed, and crucially, which way they were facing. The consequences for getting it wrong were severe. Staff described his temper as volcanic. If the curtains were incorrectly drawn, or if a cushion was not placed just so, Andrew would allegedly erupt in screaming fits. This level of meticulous, childlike control over inanimate objects speaks volumes about the man's psychology. He didn't just have an entitlement complex, he appeared to live in a state of arrested development, demanding that his adult world operate under the strict, absolute rules of a petulant child. This atmosphere of fear and control created the perfect ecosystem for the wider scandals to flourish, a place where the demands of the man who saw himself as royalty transcended all common sense, public duty, or basic human respect. After a decade of recklessness, the protection has finally run out. The scandals, the sealed files, and the allegations of debauchery have exacted a cost too high even for the monarchy to bear. Today, the former Duke of York is essentially a ghost in his own life, stripped of his honours and exiled to his home, Royal Lodge. But even this sprawling 30-room estate has become a battleground. According to recent reports, Andrew is living in a state of self-imposed isolation. He's described by sources as bitter, delusional, and refusing to accept reality. The former global trade envoy, who once commanded private jets and legions of staff, now reportedly spends his days inside the dark mansion, fixated on video games, convinced he is the victim of a conspiracy. But the most significant development is the final ultimatum issued by King Charles. The king has reportedly lost all patience, cutting Andrew's allowance and making it clear that the time for expensive royal freeloading is over. The king has demanded Andrew move out of the huge royal lodge and into the much smaller, far more humble Frogmore Cottage. Andrew, however, is refusing to budge. He is locked in a desperate standoff with his own brother, clinging to the last symbol of a status he no longer holds. He is defiant, clinging to the belief that the rules still don't apply, but this time, the system designed to protect him has been weaponized against him. The fact is, there will be no quiet deal this time. There will be no more cover-ups. A man whose arrogance and entitlement finally consumed him is now learning the painful lesson that even royalty is subject to accountability. Andrew's journey from celebrated hero to international pariah serves as a stark warning. His story is no longer about diplomacy or public service. It is about what happens when privilege goes completely unchecked. He didn't just misuse his role, he allegedly abused it, using taxpayer money to fuel a decade of personal excess and shady dealings. The sealed files, the astronomical travel costs, the bizarre teddy bear obsession, all of it paints a portrait of a man who genuinely believed he was above all law, logic, and morality. The monarchy is finally moving on, realizing that to survive in the modern era, they must excise the elements that damage their brand. Andrew Mountbatten-Windsor is that necessary amputation. His title is gone, his home is next, and the respect was lost years ago. This isn't a royal setback, it is the complete dismantling of a legacy. So, what do you think? Should the government finally unseal those secret trade envoy files immediately to show the public the full truth? Or does the public already know enough? Let us know your thoughts on this astonishing downfall in the comments below. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe to see the next story they don't want you to hear.